Hey Dunchbags, what's going on? It's Landon Remixes here, and welcome to my review of the third studio album from the experimental electronic music duo 2814. This one is called Rain Temple. 2814 is generally considered a vaporwave duo composed of Telepath and HKE, also known as Hong Kong Express. The duo saw a moderate amount of success with their 2015 sophomore album Birth of a New Day, which, although vaporwave saw a number of blends of electronic music styles, primarily in the ambient music genre, and ended up becoming one of the most critically acclaimed vaporwave albums of all time, even though the genre, of course, has only been around for a few years. It also earned 2814 a spot on Rolling Stone's 10 Artists You Need to Watch in November of last year. Now, on the subject of vaporwave, I honestly don't have a lot to critically say about the genre. It's widely considered a subgenre of the subgenre plunderphonics, which is a genre that includes heavy sampling. I talked a little bit about that in my DJ Shadow review a couple months ago. But with vaporwave, I feel like the genre is incredibly limited, especially because a majority of these sounds are kind of coming from the 90s era, with a lot of synthwave and disco type sounds, along with like Windows 98 kind of styles. Overall, I never really took the genre seriously until I found out that people were actually talking critically about the album Birth of a New Day. And therefore, when 2814 announced a follow-up album to that one, I was actually moderately excited to hear what they were going to put out, especially with the teaser that they put up on their website, which featured a number of Rain samples, which seems to be kind of the center of this album. The sounds that they were putting out in the teaser were actually something I was extremely attracted to, and something that I thought I would find a lot more attractive within the context of this album. When I finally got the chance to listen through it, I did. I listened straight through this thing. And am I extremely impressed? No, but am I disappointed? Definitely not. This album actually has a number of really awesome, very progressive ambient builds. In fact, I'd almost group this album with cinematic music rather than vaporwave or chill ambient. I think more than anything else, these songs would be better grouped into like the Daft Punk Tron soundtrack than with the vaporwave genre. In fact, I think the only track on this entire album that's containing some moderate traces of vaporwave is the track Lost in a Dream, which, although it's fairly ambient and it's very hard to kind of hear the sounds that they're sampling in this one, seems to feature some very stretched out Japanese vocals, and I feel like in large part with this album they were kind of stepping away from the Japanese styles that we saw a lot on the Birth of a New Day album, especially because the album's title and a number of tracks on that album were written in Japanese. This album is a lot less sample heavy than their last one, which although seems like a step up for artistry with them, using a lot more of their own instrumentation and creative approach to music, it also serves to make this album a lot more boring. I can see why a lot of these tracks, especially ones like Eyes of the Temple, would be a lot more mainstream appealing, and I can definitely see why people are digging these guys so much. But you get about halfway through this album, and the soundscapes on tracks like Transference, This Body, and Contact just get very old and drawn out and don't live up to their expectations for being 8 to 10 minute long tracks. While I feel like these three tracks aren't doing much, I did find a lot of enjoyment in the rest of the album, especially in the final track, which has some awesome synth sequences and some really banging cinematic drums, which reminds me why I like the beginning of this album so much. For example, the album's opening track, Before the Rain, is almost calming and unsettling at the same time, which I really liked about it. Overall, I think if you're trying to listen to this album more critically like I do with music, you're not going to find a ton of enjoyment in this. Like I said, you might find a couple of the tracks at the beginning and at the end a little better for your listening ear. On the other hand, I think a large portion of this album is so atmospheric and monotonous that it would make a better album to honestly just fall asleep to. Although I most definitely wouldn't say I'm in love with this album, I definitely have been converted to a fan of 2814. And yes, I do see a lot of critical appeal here, which does make me think that this album and this group outstep the boundaries that vaporwave has kind of put in place for them. For Rain Temple, I am feeling a light 4 out of 10. As usual, I have the link in the description so you guys can go check this out and listen to it for yourself if you'd like to. If you have already listened to the album, make sure to let me know what you think about it in the comment section below. I'm kind of curious to see what you guys think about this from a critical standpoint, and I'm definitely looking forward to reviewing more in this vein of music in the future. One last quick note is that the day this video is uploaded, I will be traveling back to Maine, and I'm hoping to get a number of reviews recorded while I'm there, but I may be silent for a few days, maybe 4 maximum. So sadly, this will be the last review recorded at my my apartment. I'll be back in my room in Maine where my old reviews used to be about a year ago, and then pretty soon after that I'll be moving back into the dorm where I was toward the beginning of the year in fall of last year. Anyway, I hope to catch up with you guys real soon on the channel. I'm Landon Remixes. I hope you guys enjoyed this review, and I'll see you later. Peace.